You've come to the right place. If you're a course creator looking to build more impact, income, and freedom, LMScast is the #1 podcast for course creators just like you. I'm your guide, Chris Badgett. I'm the co-founder of the most powerful tool for building, selling, and protecting engaging online courses called LifterLMS. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome back to another episode of LMScast. My name's Chris Badgett and I'm joined by a special guest, Zack from GravityView.co. Welcome to the show, Zack.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to have you here with the course building community and the people who build websites for course builders, because every website needs a contact form. That's where it kind of starts. Gravity Forms is a great option. And you come in with GravityView. What's your quick explainer of like, what is it? We have a Gravity form, to process contact forms, but what does GravityView open up people who build websites to be able to do?
So you have a contact form, but you probably also have a testimonial form that gathers testimonials. So what happens when somebody submits the testimonial? It goes into the back end and then you have to maybe copy and paste it, or you have a custom post type called testimonial and you have to format that. Well, with GravityView, it takes the GravityView data itself and displays it on the front end of your site with a drag and drop builder. So you don't need to do anything after the customer submits the testimonial other than approving it. So every time you have a form and you might want to use that data on the front end of your site, that's where GravityView comes in. And you could do really amazing stuff with it. And we have a bunch of different layouts that do different functionalities. But for example, we just came out with a new calendar add-on for Gravity Forms. If you ever have an event or need to show somebody's schedule or days off, that's a form that is then displayed on the site using GravityView.
Wow, that's a great way to think about it. So you're taking like form submissions and you're automatically publishing it somewhere else, formatting it in a certain way. Maybe there's a review process where someone needs to moderate it before it goes live. And just for those of you listening, a pro tip for a course is, if you really want to get testimonials, what you can do is you can put that testimonial collection form on the last lesson or next to last lesson, so that before they can actually complete the course and get the certificate, they have an opportunity to leave a review or testimonial. So if I hear a lot of course creators, they're wondering, how do I get more testimonials on my website? And you can do it the hard way, like you're talking about, and create a new page on your site called testimonial or review or whatever, put a Gravity form on there, collect some data and some pictures, or you can just have it pop that form right inside a lesson and have it ready to go. I love that testimonial example.
Yeah, and if you're doing a net promoter score even, and you can do those surveys with Gravity Forms, and you can have an email that gets sent to your customer or somebody automatically and ask, how likely are you to refer company widgets incorporated? And they rate 0 to 10, and that can automatically pre-fill a Gravity Forms form. And then you can use our math add-on to display a live net promoter score on your website saying, our customers love us. And you can use conditional logic to make sure to hide it if it's not a good score. And that's all built into GravityView as well, using our built-in logic shortcode.
Well, that is awesome. I'm going to come back to that one towards the end of the episode, where I selfishly get free consulting. But as software companies, we look a lot at Net Promoter Score. But one of the other things you do is with the map, which I find really cool. One of the things we talk about a lot on this podcast is a concept that I call Course Plus. So for people to be successful with online training, I like to say the information age is over. Like, yes, they need information, but they need a lot of other things to get results, like coaching, like community, other services, other materials, maybe other products. So you basically like surround your learner with all kinds of things to help them be successful. But one of those things is community, where people have a sense of finding the quote others. So if you're building a membership site in a particular niche, whether it's about, anything from supporting veteran spouses that are at home, or entrepreneurs or of a certain kind, or some people going through some kind of health and fitness transformation and they have courses, but they may also want to have like this community. And then what happens in really active membership sites, especially when they reach a certain velocity of user base, is the users start realizing that there might even be people in their same town or close by within driving distance, or that they could meet up with and continue the relationship offline, or have like a meetup or a party or something like that. So if we have a membership site and we have all our users in there, and we give them the opportunity to drop a pin on a map of where they are, how would that work with GravityView? Like, can you talk us through that process?
Sure. So you'd have a form where people could submit their own information, and it can include interests, for example, and the interest could be a drop-down form field, for example. And you would enter your bio, and you'd click submit, and you'd show up on a map, and then you could filter by interest, and only the people who share the same interest would also show up on that map. And so that'd be a real quick, easy way to do that. But you can also take it to the next level and say you have a community that loves antiques, and they wanted to share, that they have antiques for sale. You could have like a little antiques market using GravityView, posting what people have to sell, and even having a buy now button or embedded gravity form to buy the antiques
Wow.
directly from the person. So GravityView allows you to kind of take an idea and build out an MVP app where if you think that you are interested in building something out, but you don't want to invest in a bunch of different plugins to make it happen, GravityView can be a proof of concept that can then build out your community page or site further.
That's awesome. And I can tell where we're going to go with this episode, because I can just keep seeing all these things course creators and membership site builders are trying to do that is possible to do without a developer with GravityView. But before, if you're listening to this and it sounds technical, like things like conditional logic or something with the data or whatever, just hang in there, because either if you're keeping up with the tech, great. If not, you may want to work with a website person, a WordPress person that could just implement this for you. So if you hear something that's interesting and it sounds a little scary, for somebody who regularly builds WordPress sites and works with plugins like Gravity Forms and LifterLMS and other plugins, they'll know how to put this together. I want to just go into a vocabulary word. There's this word that I'm starting to hear more and more when people are talking about building sites intelligently and working with data and all this. They use the word structured data. What does that mean to you, or how do you help somebody understand the idea of structured data?
Structured data involves a lot of thinking about something. So when you're trying to describe, when you're learning how to code, often people talk about a car as an object that is described. In the real world, you look at a car, you say it has 4 wheels, it has a steering wheel, it has maybe 2 or 3 different types of engines, it has different number of seats, and you try to describe using code what that car would look like if it were written as a program. I think the structured data comes in as the same kind of questions that you should ask when you're looking at the kind of data that you're collecting, which is, well, is this always going to be a number? Is it an integer? Is it something that Google cares about? And if so, how does it care about it? Is it a category that Google has pre-done and you should reference one of their pre-done categories, or is it something more free-form? So when I'm designing a form, I think of the data structure as in trying to catch all the edge cases that could happen and make sure that everything is covered.
Yeah, that's what I love about working with Thomas over at LifterLMS is he identifies all these edge cases that I just, it's a gap, but we're great together because together we can actually create the car. And help other people drive their own versions of it. I want to go back to some other use cases for course creators and membership site builders. sometimes if we're building a certification site, so there's courses to become certified in a skill. Sometimes it's something that somebody's doing to better their career or to hang their shingle as being an expert in something. So part of the offer is not only are there courses available here and you can get a certificate, but we'll also list you in our directory that, so when people are looking for professionals like you, they can more easily find you. So it's another benefit to, somebody joining this type of professional development platform. How would we build a directory? First of all, can you explain what a directory is, how people use them, and how they could use your tools to build it out?
Sure. A directory is a listing of, well, it's a page of listings that include information. I've never been asked what a directory is before, so thank you for helping me clarify.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a searchable, sortable, using a metaphor, yellow pages or white pages, depending on how you structure your directory.
Yeah, let me just throw an example out there. If somebody's like, let's say teaching about social media marketing, and then you get listed as in the directory of, like, I'm certified in social media marketing by, Badget Marketing Incorporated. And let's say somebody's like looking for a business is looking for somebody to help hire as a contractor or something for social media marketing in New York City. And they want to find somebody that's like actually local to them that they could actually meet with in person or something. That's kind of the
Yes.
yellow pages you're talking about, right?
Yes, and then you can filter by a skill, for example. You can list multiple skills and say, I'm good at SEO, I'm good at Facebook and social media marketing, I'm good at website design. And then you
Or
can filter
location.
down,
Yeah.
or by location, by skill, by any of the fields in the form you can search by. So when you
Price,
design,
like my project minimum, like that's another one.
exactly, yes,
Yeah.
yep.
That's super cool. What is there other directories that you've seen people do? Or you mentioned classified ads. That's kind of like a listing. It's different way. I mean, it's still kind of a directory. It's a listing, but it happens to be a product, not a person that has certain expertise. So there, you can do it. It's very
Yeah,
flexible, right?
I would say that Craigslist is a directory,
Okay. Yeah.
but so was Yahoo, directory back in the day.
Yeah.
So a directory can be, I'd say it's the display of a database on the front end
Mm-hmm.
is kind of a catch-all description, but that might be a little codey. So here's some examples that people do with GravityView.
Yeah.
Um, there's there's a rescue site for dogs and cats, and there's a pound that gets all the strays. And when a new animal comes in, they take a picture of the animal and they submit a Gravity Forms form as this animal's up for adoption. And then it automatically displays on their site using GravityView. And then people can easily say, I want to check out this dog or this cat because I have fallen in love with this little animal. So that's where the question is, well, how do we show this data that gets updated all the time? And when an animal gets adopted, how do we remove it from the website? Well, you don't have to go in and edit custom code or edit HTML. You just unapprove it from the back end and it no longer shows up on the front end. So that's a directory of pets that are up for adoption powered by Gravity Forms and displayed using GravityView.
That is an awesome example. And I just want to highlight that point specifically because one of the things that we do at Lifter is we help people create, launch, and scale their online training programs. Part of scaling is automating. And what a lot of people do with forms, myself included, is we create this hole for data to come through, but then it just ends up in a pile, and then I got to do something with it. But like in your animal adoption rescue scenario, that business or nonprofit, whatever it is automating that whole process, and they've streamlined a process that helps get that animal adopted quicker. The employees have to be even less and less technical to make it happen. They just have to take the picture and do the stuff. And the review process is also streamlined. So that's a huge automation win, which is
Yeah.
really special.
And for nonprofits, we have a lot of nonprofits that use GravityView. One of the use cases is fundraising. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the tools people use for fundraising is the Gravity Forms form, and they donate using the form. And showing your latest donors is a manual process normally. You would have to like thank them on the page somehow, you copy and paste their name. Well, using GravityView, you can automate that, and the latest donors show up on your website automatically. So, and that's only if they opt in with a checkbox, right? So you can do these kind of limitations that are built into our plugin, where it makes sure that only people's data is shown that they want shown.
I like that point. I think that's a really important point. And you mentioned that earlier too. I think about testimonials, like it's not a one and done thing. Like if you have like edge cases, like, well, I need people to consent to having their name displayed publicly. I need them to have that choice. They can do that. I need the ability to review the testimonial before it goes live on my website in case it's like a spammer or somebody's whatever. Like you would need moderation, no problem. You can do that. Or somebody needs to review directory listings of professionals before they go live, make sure there's no spelling errors or something like that. I mean, it's not like a one size, you can still put your checks and balances in there is what I'm saying.
Right. And with Gravity Forms and with any solution really, if you are thinking, well, can I do this? First of all, probably yes.
Yeah.
And second of all, look at the different solutions and find out which one. Ask everybody if you can do something, and find out which ones are the most competent in the different areas. Because GravityView can do a lot of things that even LifterLMS could do. LifterLMS is a way better solution for what you're doing. But GravityView, you could build that out. So, and well, some of the functionality out. But when you're looking at any business that's trying to scale and grow and enhance their business practices, when you ask the question, can I make this simpler? The answer is almost always yes, and always look for a solution. Or, ping Chris or ping me or ping anybody and say, what would you recommend doing this with? And we will tell you.
And the question is also, can I do this without custom code? And the answer is still most of the time, yes.
Most of the time, yes.
Yeah.
I just found another plugin that does stuff that GravityView does, but it does it better. And now I'm going to recommend that instead. Because there are so many ways you can use GravityView, and there's so many ways you can use LifterLMS, and there's so many ways. It's always possible, especially with WordPress. And that's the nice thing about WordPress. That's the great thing about Gravity Forms as an ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Gravity Forms connects to Lifter, and you can display that same data using GravityView in different ways and combine this all. And really, you generally don't need a custom coder. At most, you probably need a consultant.
Keep listening. This podcast is not over. This is just a special message about this episode's sponsor, WP Tonic Managed WordPress LMS Hosting. Think of it as everything you need to have a professional online course training platform right out of the box, ready to go. Find out more about WP Tonic's Managed WordPress LMS Hosting by going to lifterlikes.com/tonic. Now back to the show.
Most of the time.
Yeah, or a podcast episode like this, even though it's possible.
Podcast episode.
There's something else that I want to get into, another use case, and really just an idea, which is user-generated content. If I have a testimonial is user-generated content, but let's say I'm using an LMS and part of it is, let's say it's like a school of some kind, online school, and part of it is the students, it's some kind of writing thing, or there's like a public journaling element where people are essentially posting to the blog of this website, but the website owner wants to do it where they don't have to go into the back end of WordPress and do it. Like, can they like publish blog posts from the front end of the website? I'm just thinking of user-generated content. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so for user-generated content, GravityView does have a front-end approval feature where somebody doesn't have to go into the back end. If you're logged in as an administrator, you can just approve or reject entries from the front end while you're just browsing the submitted entries. I found a really cool thing that involved crowdsourced data today when I was preparing for this talk. And it's a crowdsourced list of female ancient historians. So this is historians that they're ancient historians and they're female, and it shows everybody on a map, and it's just crowdsourced. So whenever anybody wants to add their name to it, they add it. And I assume they have a moderation process, and that's, I love things like that because
That's kind of like Wikipedia, right?
right. And we don't have the Wikipedia has the crowd editing functionality that we don't have it. We have a single editor, but it's the same kind of situation.
Yeah, that's super cool.
But we also, like, for a lot of professors use GravityView for students submit their final essays, for example, or their end of term art projects, and the professors can, or even a panel of professors can leave comments on each of the submitted artworks and kind of vote on what they think for that the grade should be. So a lot of use cases in education for, I would say, kind of crowdsourced student data that's coming in that's not generated by the professors themselves.
That's super cool. I had a question too, and this comes directly. I've heard this question many times in many different ways. But first, before I ask that, can you like edit something, or can you update something that you've already posted? Like, for example, whatever, if I posted to the map that I live in New York City and I moved to Los Angeles, can I update my listing later?
Yep, users can update their own entries, and as long as they're logged into WordPress, and then you can have it in GravityView to either be approved still after editing if you trust the person who's editing, or after editing it can go back into the review process for moderation.
That's cool. And what about, so the context of the question, I usually get this in, it's something like, it goes something like this, is that my course helps people, we work on this project, and it's some kind of like writing project, for example, like a business plan. So over the course of 6 weeks, I'm going to take some new entrepreneurs or would-be business owners, teach them what a business plan is, consult with them along the way, do group coaching, and by the end of the course, you will have a good, solid business plan. How could I do that with, like, where I'm working on parts of it, but not all of it at once?
Right. There are lots of different ways that could work in GravityView. It could even be different forms, different Gravity forms for each step.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Or different pages of the same form, because you can do it different ways. But GravityView does allow you to combine data from multiple forms where the same field matches each other.
Wow.
So if you have student ID, or like, I don't know if you'd call it a student, but student ID, and it's the same for each form, you can say, combine all these and show one record.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Calendars, like what can we do with calendars? Like, for membership sites, sometimes there's a need to have a calendar for, okay, we have all these courses and stuff, but we have our group coaching call on this day, we have our live event in Spain on this date, we have, so people can plan, like, and maybe multiple stakeholders are involved as to, or who can put stuff on the calendar or whatever. Like, how does Gravity Forms and calendars and GravityView work together?
So with our calendar functionality, you can select a start date, end date, start time, end time, all based on the fields of the form itself. And you can also select for it to go to a website that is a URL field in the form.
Yeah.
So just like everything else with GravityView, it really depends on how you need to use it.
Yeah.
People said that they wanted to display, for example, the time off that their team members have requested.
Yeah.
So if Joe and and Jane are asking for time off at the same time, it'll appear on the calendar, and you can drag and drop and rearrange the timing of their vacation times. We have lots of events functionality that, if you want a simple way to display an event listing on your website, you could have a calendar above a GravityView, embedded GravityView, so that you can have a listing of the GravityView events that have pictures, summaries, details, categories, and then you can just see easily on a calendar what the timing of those events might be. So in terms of the use case that you described, I'm not sure that that's the best use case for a calendar, but there are many different, and it's a new plugin. So I'm looking forward to finding out all the amazing ways that people use it, because I don't really know all the ways that people are going to use it, but I know it's going to be used by a lot of different people.
Yeah, that's cool. I think in the course building community, and by the way, appreciate that, where this audience here is really appreciates when software creators, plugin creators do active listening and want to hear like what people want. So thank you for saying that. In this scenario with course builders, it's really goes back to that concept of Course Plus. And if there's Course Plus coaching or live events or virtual events, those are all things that need to get organized on a calendar so people can plan accordingly.
Right. So if Lifter had the need to display, if you had your community wanted to display all the things that they were doing and all the different places they were presenting about LifterLMS at different meetups, at different WordCamps, they could submit using a form, and you could have a calendar of LifterLMS talks in the public.
Wow,
and
that's
then
cool.
You could click on each entry and it would go directly to the website of the talk. So that's an example for a community could create a user-generated calendar and not just display, things that are generated by the company itself.
So like a crowdsourced event, like presentation, because when things take on a life of their own, that's what goes back to user-generated content. What type of content are we talking about here? We're talking about events or educational opportunities. This is kind of outside of the scope of your product, I think, but I know people are wondering because I talk to them all the time, and and people do it to me all the time. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Like course creators are often they want to make sure they have a good amount of their data in the CRM, like let's say ActiveCampaign. Because course creators are often thinking about that. You got the LMS, you got the WordPress, you got the hosting, you got the website, but then they have the CRM over here that they use for like broadcast emails and other various activities where they're applying tags based on things. So, for example, whether it's ActiveCampaign or MailChimp or ConvertKit or whatever it is, how do you recommend when we're talking about structured data, like connecting Gravity forms to let's say we create a testimonial form, and we want to know in our CRM who has submitted a testimonial and who has not, based on the fact that the tag is present or not. Can they do that?
Absolutely. And Gravity Forms makes it real easy to connect with a bunch of different, like any service essentially. And if your service doesn't exist on Gravity Forms' ecosystem yet, just tell somebody and they'll make it essentially. But Gravity Forms connects to places like Drip, places like HubSpot, Salesforce, everything that you can imagine they have an integration for. So when a form is submitted, in your case, testimonial form, you can tag, left a testimonial, and you can even tag your customer with like their influencer rating score and the NPS score, for example. And if you think that somebody is going to be a good promoter of your company and your business or your product or your services, then you can tag them specially. And that's all configured in Gravity Forms itself. So Gravity Forms really is a great way to connect all these things. They have a deeper connection recently. They partnered with HubSpot. Okay. And I know HubSpot's a really big marketing CRM that a lot of people use.
Yeah, that's That's really cool. Like when I was earlier into building websites and WordPress and everything, um, somebody helped me understand that the form is really fundamental into how the web works and websites. Like lots of things are form submissions. And once you kind of get that, then you see how powerful forms are, and then all the different ways you can use forms and the data that flows through them. It's a
Yeah, and Gravity Forms, I mean, when you think of it, the post editor, now it's the Gutenberg, editor, it's just one big form to submit an entry. And the entry is your blog post or your page. It's user submitted content, but it happens to be in the back end and built in. But like Gravity Forms actually can submit forms from the front end. So you don't even need to use the back end because everything is a form.
Right. Right. Well, Zach, this has been a lot of fun, and I would encourage, if you got some interest in certain of these like use cases we talked about, to go back and re-listen to this, because we packed a lot in here. This is what you can do with forms and what you can do with the data with GravityView is one of those things where the options are literally limitless. So yeah, just keep thinking about it, and really, before going to the tool, think about like, well, what do you want? Like, what's the goal? Like, what do you want your community to be like? What kind of information do you want your website to contain? How do you want help from your users to create content and make the website more useful or more accurate about whatever? That, and pick that, figure out what problem you want to solve for, and then go to the tools and see how you can do it with Gravity Forms and GravityView. Zack, I want to thank you for coming on the show. He's at gravityview.co. Do you have any final words for the people of LifterLMS?
Well, with your final advice, I was thinking, and if your form that you're building seems like it's unwieldy and isn't quite right, it's probably not. So take a second to think about your data structure again, and really figure out, well, could this be split into 2 forms or multiple pages, or ask somebody, and you can always ask us at GravityView, and we're happy to give you any answers to any questions you have. Gravity Forms has a great support team. LifterLMS, excellent support. Anybody, just ask pause and ask before you keep on down a road that you're uncertain with. I think that you'll come out with a better solution.
That's great. Well, thanks so much, Zack.
Thank you, Chris.
And that's a wrap for this episode of LMScast. I'm your guide, Chris Badgett. I hope you enjoyed the show. This show was brought to you by LifterLMS, the #1 tool for creating, selling, and protecting engaging online courses to help you get more revenue, freedom, and impact in your life. Head on over to LifterLMS.com and get the best gear for your course creator journey. Let's build the most engaging, results-getting courses on the internet.